Welcome back to another day of Stitchmas. If you are new here, Stitchmas is my version of vlogmas where we will have 7 videos leading up to Christmas. And today's video is all about a DIY tree skirt. So you can see here I have the top of the portion of the tree skirt done. That came from a free video off YouTube, and now we're going to be doing the back. So this is going to be a patchwork themed naughty and nice tree skirt. I wanted to see how big to make it. The cat was helping the entire time. And what I did was measure across, and then I started cutting out squares. So basically I'm going to need 144 5¼ inch squares. And if you're making this as well, you could do it in whatever pattern you wanted. I had 4 different fabrics I wanted to use, so I cut out 36 squares for each fabric. So there's 36 of these green naughty, 36 of the red nice, and then 36 of the green Santas, and 36 of the red Krampuses. And what we're going to be doing is basically starting to match all of these together. So matching the nice with the naughty, and then kind of folding it over, and then taking a seam straight across. So this is a lot of chain stitching because you have to get all of these together. I just started with the pairs originally and then worked my way up. So you can see these were all of those pairs. So this is 2 pieces of fabric where I just took 1/4 inch seam, and then I had to cut through all of these, which again took some time because there were so many. And then after I did this, I then started to pair these again. So making sure that I had that really nice pattern of the green, red, and I just continued this on for each of those pairs. One thing to make sure of, since you'll see I messed up a little later, make sure it's always the exact same pattern. And what I mean by that is if you did green, red, continue to do green, red. And then if you were trying to switch it, you could definitely then do red, green, but it will matter in the end which way you do it. So just kind of giving you a little heads up if you're doing this as well. So you can see I now have all of my pairs matched up here. So I have 12 different piles with the 12 kind of like 4 pieces, and I just continued to sew these until I got these really long rows or columns, however you want to say it, of the fabric. And now what I had to do is I had to press open all the seams. You could definitely have pressed these open as you were going along. I just waited until I had them all kind of in one long strip so that it was easier, and I just had to take the iron out once. So this is what all 12 look like, and this is what I'm talking about, is that I had messed up the pattern, so I need to go through and move one of them just to the top to get it refixed. And now what it's time to do is sew all of these together. So with right sides together, I'm going to be matching these squares so that it kind of continues that pattern, and this is what it ends up looking like when you have them all together. It started to look so good that part of me didn't want to cut it for a tree skirt, but I was still excited about it anyways because it was going to work really, really well. So now you can see here I kind of did like a little test for the last one. I have my right sides together. I'm just going to take that seam all the way down to add on that last and final row from where I'd made the mistake earlier, and that I could actually have this whole piece completed. So everything started to look really nice. It was really coming together, and all I had to do was sew one more of these strip pairs together so that I would have this entire panel. And of course the cat had to help as well. You could see she had a great time on the fabric, definitely wanted to roll over top of it. And so what I had to do though was just kind of pin everything up. This was very simple, and overall this would have been actually a really quick kind of quilt to do if you wanted to do this patchwork. But because of moving, it did take me some time. Once I had the entire panel completed, I ironed it, and this is what the whole thing looks like. It's so big. It's such a pretty quilt though. You could definitely just use this as a wall hanging if you wanted to have like a really fun Christmassy wall hanging, but I'm still going to be using it for the tree skirt. So if you're using this just as your tree skirt, you just have to cut a hole in the center, and then you cut another piece of just regular fabric on top of it, and then cut that out, and then you continue on the exact same way. I'm going to be though using this as the backing for my original tree skirt. So I'm just going to be tracing this out using, and I'm going to have some extra fabric you can see, basically just tracing this out. I'm going to be using kind of like one of those invisible pens as well as my scissors, and then I will cut out the exact same piece for the batting as well. So that'll make it a little easier to quilt. You definitely do not have to quilt this though. Once you kind of have it done, you could just leave it as that patchwork look. And then I'll be sure to link in the description, or at least write in the description, how much fabric you'll need for all of this. It ended up being 4 yards of fabric for me to get this large of a tree skirt. So once I had all of that cut out and I put my top onto the bottom as well as the batting, I just pinned it all up using my little quilting clips. So again, I love these quilting clips so much. And then I just took a seam all the way around. And you can see here what I had to start doing was kind of clipping all the curves. So this is really important when we turn it right side out. Be sure you are clipping your curve, so kind of going as close as you can to that seam, as well as clipping off some of the edges and extra fabric, so that when you turn this, it's going to lay really nice and flat. So this is what mine looked like when I turned it right side out. If you had any issues kind of getting into those points, if you also cut yours out in a point, you could definitely just use a pencil. That's what I did, to kind of like poke it through, and then I just ironed it all down. So I have one of those ironing mats, and I just kind of placed it on the floor. It was a lot easier for me to do it that way than trying to do this on an ironing board, just because this was so big. And then once I had it though all flattened out, it was just time to go around and top stitch it. So when I got to that hole for where I did kind of turn everything right side out, I just top stitched that closed so I didn't have to worry about it, and this is what my completed tree skirt looks like. You could definitely have taken the time to quilt this if you'd like. I'm going to go through and probably quilt in the, like stitch in the ditch on it, so that I don't have to do anything too complicated and take away from the fabric, but it still adds a little bit of quilting design to it. You could do whatever you wanted though, and you could definitely just leave it as is if that was something that you just wanted this to be done in time for the season. I absolutely love how this tree skirt turned out. It is so festive, it's so fun, and I think that the colors look really good with the Christmas tree, and I hope you enjoyed too. If you like this video and you want to see more, be sure to like and subscribe.